A stratified model of art history, from cave walls to quantum states. Chapter 4. The Film Layer. Manipulation of Time. Photography gave us the ability to freeze a single moment. That was extraordinary enough, but what if you could freeze not just one moment, but dozens of moments, one after another, and then play them back in sequence, fast enough that the eye could not see the gaps between them? That is cinema, and what it added to the history of image making was something no previous layer had touched: time itself. With film, time became a material. It could be captured, cut apart, rearranged, and reconstructed. The moving image was not just a new way of recording the world, it was a new way of handling one of the most fundamental dimensions of human experience. The Great Illusion. Here is the central secret of cinema, the trick at the heart of everything. Movement in film is not real. A strip of film is a sequence of still photographs, called frames, printed on a long ribbon of celluloid. Each frame is a frozen moment, completely static. When the film runs through a projector at the right speed, typically around 24 frames per second, something remarkable happens in the human brain. Instead of seeing a rapid series of still images, we see continuous, smooth movement. The movement we perceive is not on the screen. It is constructed inside our own minds out of a series of frozen moments that have nothing moving about them at all. This is the central principle of cinema, and it is worth sitting with for a moment because it has implications that go far beyond the mechanics of film projection. Continuity can be built from discrete, separate pieces. This idea that something smooth and flowing can be assembled from something broken and discontinuous will turn out to be one of the most important ideas in the entire history of technology. We will encounter it again in the digital layer and again in the binary layer. Cinema was the first place where it became a cultural experience that millions of people shared. Time becomes a material. Before cinema, time in art was something you could only represent symbolically. A painting could suggest that a battle was taking place, but it could not show the battle unfolding. It could depict a face in a moment of joy or grief, but it could not show the feeling changing. Cinema changed all of this. For the first time, an artwork could exist in time the way music does. It could have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the experience of moving through those stages was part of the work itself. But cinema did not just record time, it discovered that time could be taken apart and put back together differently. The key invention here was editing, the practice of cutting film at one point and joining it to a different piece of film. This sounds simple, but its implications were enormous. It meant that the time in a film did not have to correspond to real time. You could jump forward, jump backward, show two things happening simultaneously in different places, compress hours into seconds, or expand a single second into minutes. Filmmakers began to explore these possibilities almost immediately. A scene set in ancient Rome could cut to a scene set in modern Paris. A character remembering their childhood could be shown in a flashback that interrupts the present. Two lovers separated by an ocean could be shown in parallel, their stories intercut so that we experience them as happening at the same moment. None of this was possible before cinema. The art of storytelling was transformed. The cave in reverse. One of the most striking observations in this essay's original text is a comparison between the cinema and the cave, two apparently very different experiences that share a surprising structural similarity. Think about what a cave painting experience was like. You are in a dark, enclosed space. You carry a flickering torch. The light moves, and the fixed images on the walls seem to come alive. The animals tremble, the shadows shift, the painted figures appear to breathe. Now think about a cinema. You are in a dark, enclosed space. A bright light projects moving images onto a flat, fixed screen. The screen itself does nothing. The movement comes from the projection. In both cases, darkness, enclosure, light animating a surface, images that seem to move, but the mechanism is reversed. In the cave, fixed images appear to move because the light moves. In the cinema, moving images are projected onto a fixed surface. The cave and the cinema are mirror images of each other across 30,000 years of history. The experience of sitting in the dark watching flickering images on the wall is, in some deep sense, the same experience that our prehistoric ancestors had when they pressed their torches toward the painted limestone. Montage. Meaning from sequence. Perhaps the most intellectually exciting discovery of early cinema was that meaning could be created simply by placing two images next to each other, even if those images had nothing to do with each other in reality. This technique is called montage, a French word meaning simply assemblage or putting together. The Russian filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein was one of its great theorists and practitioners. He demonstrated that if you show a close-up of a person's expressionless face and then cut to an image of a bowl of soup, the audience will read the face as expressing hunger. Cut instead to a child playing, and the same expressionless face seems to show tenderness. Cut to a coffin, and it seems to show grief. The face has not changed. The meaning is created entirely by the sequence. This was a profound discovery, not just for filmmaking, but for our understanding of how the human mind works. We do not just passively receive images, we actively construct meaning from the relationships between them. Cinema externalized this process and made it visible. Editing became a way of modeling the way the mind moves through memory, anticipation, and emotion. The body under the lens. Cinema also changed how we see the human body and human movement. With slow motion, a gesture that takes a fraction of a second in real life can be extended into several seconds of screen time, revealing details that are invisible to the naked eye. With time-lapse, a flower blooming over 3 days can be compressed into 10 seconds. Close-ups can fill an entire screen with a single eye, a pair of hands, the texture of skin. The camera sees differently from the human eye. Not worse, not better, but differently. It can slow down, speed up, zoom in, pull back. It can see things we cannot see, and it can make us feel things we would not otherwise feel. This is another example of what happens at every layer transition in this model. The new material condition does not just add technical capability, it changes what is thinkable. Before cinema, the idea of analyzing human movement frame by frame was barely conceivable. After cinema, it became not only conceivable but routine, and eventually led directly to the computer animation, motion capture, and video analysis technologies that are now everywhere. Cinema prepares the ground for the digital. There is one more thing that cinema did, perhaps without fully realizing it. It trained audiences to accept a world built from discrete, separate units. Every film viewer learns without being told that a cut from one scene to another is not a rupture in reality. It is just the way films work. We accept that a story can jump forward in time or cut between two places or replay the same moment from a different angle. We have been so thoroughly educated by cinema that these conventions feel completely natural. This education matters for what comes next in our story.
If a film can be made of 24 separate frames per second, and if we accept that as continuous movement, then perhaps an image can be made of millions of separate pixels, and we will accept that as a continuous picture. And if an image can be made of millions of pixels, perhaps those pixels can be made of binary numbers, zeros and ones, and we will accept that as reality. Cinema normalized the idea that continuity is something we construct, not something we simply perceive. That normalization was essential preparation for the digital world that followed. Time as material. We began this chapter by saying that cinema made time into a material, something that could be captured and shaped like clay. That turns out to be more than a metaphor. The film strip is literally a physical representation of time spread out in space. Lay a strip of film on a table and you can see a sequence of moments, each one frozen and separate, arranged in order from left to right. You can pick up the strip, hold it to the light, cut it with scissors, rearrange the pieces. Time has become something you can hold in your hands. This physicality, this idea of time as something tangible that can be cut and spliced and rearranged, is one of the most radical things cinema introduced into human culture. And it did not stay in the cinema. It moved into music production, into news broadcasting, into advertising, into the way we now edit our own personal videos on our phones. We live in a world saturated with edited time. We are so used to it that we no longer notice it. But it began with a strip of celluloid moving through a projector in a darkened room, and behind that, with the discovery that 24 frozen moments per second is enough to make the human mind believe it is seeing life itself.